As obvious as that may sound, to get stronger and build muscle, you need to do the right exercises. If you don't do the right exercises, you simply won't get your desired result. So figuring out the right exercises for you is the first step to getting anywhere in terms of calisthenics. But how do you do that? To understand this, let me introduce you to the number one training principle, specificity. If you watched my video about the 7 training principles, you'll already know what specificity means. But in case you missed it, here's a quick definition. If you want to get better at something, your training should be focused on that something. This means that if your goal is to learn the front lever, your training program should be focused on the front lever. Okay, Captain Obvious, I get that. But how can I know which exercise I should choose? Generally, the more specific an exercise is to your goal, the better. As I see it, there are 4 categories of specificity that go from most to least specific. The exercise you want to get better at, a closely related exercise that utilizes the same movement pattern, a somewhat related exercise that works the same muscle groups, and a completely unrelated exercise. In the front lever example, the first category would be a front lever hold. The second category would be front lever raises and front lever negatives. The third category would be pull-ups, rows, and front lever pull-ups. And the fourth category would be push-ups or any other exercise that doesn't involve the pulling muscles. As you can probably tell, all of your exercises for the front lever should fall into the first 3 categories, because no matter how many push-ups you do, your front lever won't improve because the muscles are completely unrelated. Now you might be asking, if specificity is so important, why not just train the exact exercise I want to get better at? This is a valid question because it seems that the more specific your training is, the better it is. And while it generally is the case, it's possible to go overboard with specificity for 2 reasons. The first is that highly specific exercises usually aren't the best for building muscle, and since muscle is one of the main drivers of strength, you shouldn't neglect it. You're not going to build much muscle by holding the front lever because isometric contractions simply don't build much muscle, which is why you should also do some full range of motion pulling exercises. And the second is that highly specific training is beneficial only up to a certain point. After that, you get what's called diminishing returns, or in other words, the benefit of doing a different exercise exceeds the benefit of doing more of the same exercise. To illustrate this, imagine that you were doing front lever holds 4 times per week, but you felt like you could do more. What benefit would you get from adding another session of front lever holds? Very small, since you're increasing the workload only by 25%. But what benefit would you get from adding a session of weighted pull-ups? Quite a big one, since you're increasing the workload by infinite percent. Okay, maybe in reality it's not infinite percent, but it probably is higher than 25%. Of course, the strength that you gain in weighted pull-ups won't transfer completely to the front lever because it's a different exercise, but it'll still be bigger than the diminishing benefit of doing more front lever holds. You'll also build more muscle in the process, which certainly won't hurt. Now that we've covered the main determinant of your exercise selection, I'll give you some examples of exercise for different goals. But before I do that, I want to make one thing clear. I'm still pretty much a beginner in calisthenics, so don't take my advice as gospel. You might not agree with my exercise selection, and that's fine. This is just my interpretation of the best exercise for certain goals, as far as I've studied strength and hypertrophy training. With that out of the way, let me give you what I think are the best exercises for different goals in calisthenics. If your goal is to learn the planche, the most specific exercise you can do is the planche hold, either assisted or unassisted. A closely related exercise is an exercise that trains the same movement pattern, which for the planche is shoulder flexion. You can train it by doing tuck planche raises and negatives, or front raises with the band or dumbbells. My preferred exercise is front raises with the band because they allow me to work the full range of motion, and they're more comfortable than doing them with dumbbells. And a somewhat related exercise is an exercise that trains the same muscle groups, which for the planche is mainly front delts. You can build bigger front delts by doing some kind of overhead pressing movement, such as a pike push-up, handstand push-up, or overhead press with the band or dumbbells. Other good exercises are pseudo planche push-ups and tuck planche push-ups, since they train the front delts really well and also allow you to spend more time in that straight arm position if you pause between your reps. Next up is the front lever, which I already mentioned in the beginning of the video. The most specific exercise for the front lever is the front lever hold, either assisted or unassisted. A closely related exercise is an exercise that trains the same movement pattern, which for the front lever is shoulder extension, and you can train it by doing front lever raises and negatives. And a somewhat related exercise is an exercise that trains the same muscle groups, which for the front lever is mainly lats. You can build bigger lats by doing some kind of pulling movement, such as a pull-up, row, or tuck front lever pull-up. Next up is the freestanding handstand push-up. The freestanding handstand push-up consists of 2 parts, overhead pushing strength and balance in a handstand, so each should be addressed separately. Overhead pushing strength should be addressed by an overhead pushing movement, such as a pike push-up, handstand push-up, or overhead press with the band or dumbbells. And balance in a handstand should be addressed by practicing the handstand and doing handstand push-up negatives to learn how to maintain balance throughout the range of motion of a handstand push-up. Once you're sufficiently strong and can balance a handstand comfortably throughout the range of motion of a handstand push-up, you basically can do a freestanding handstand push-up. These were the most common goals that people have in calisthenics, and there's certainly a lot more that I could cover, but you get the point. Your main goal of exercise selection is to figure out what's limiting you. For most people, it's strength in the necessary movement pattern and muscle mass in the necessary muscles, and pick exercises that address your limiting points. That's it. If you found this video helpful, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to my channel, and comment down below what kind of videos you would like to see from me more. more and have an awesome day. Peace.